All right, welcome to another show of Wealth Builders. My name's Anthony Cangemi. I'll be your host. We want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our fabulous co-host, Mr. Tony Shore, who is with us every Sunday morning. Tony, thank you so much for being here. Can you believe we're in 2026, starting the new year?
No, I absolutely cannot. Like they say, as you get older, the years go by faster and the days go by slower. I really find that true. 2025 was just like that, and it was gone for me. So that's interesting. Hopefully, this will be a great new year. I trust it will be. I really appreciate you having me on the show each week. We're going to keep doing this show each week with a lot of great financial information for the listeners and viewers out there. But yeah, I had a great holiday season, took a little time off. How about you? How are you and the family? Did you enjoy your holidays?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, it really just time with the kids, time with the family, and frankly, more than most years, I had a little R&R uh where I could just kind of just relax for 3 or 4 days. And
Wow,
yeah. And so
that's nice.
everything was of course we have real good, communication tools for our clients who needed us throughout
Sure.
those couple of days off. But other than that, I mean, it was a lot of rest and a lot of enjoyment with the family and just catching up on extended family. It's a really, really nice holiday, Tony.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And now, as we head into 2026, we're starting the year off. We want to start it off strong from, personal and financial perspectives. People do their New Year's resolutions. They think about, what might change in the new year. And there are a lot of financial changes that have come down the pike, and a lot of people may or may not be aware of all of them. And I think it's important to understand those. I really do. So, we're talking today about the top things for retirees and pre-retirees uh, to understand financially for the new year. There are a lot of changes and things they need to keep in mind, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely, Tony. There really is. There's all sorts of opportunities, whether it be catch up contributions that people can still make, depending on if you are working for a company and you have a traditional retirement plan, whether it be a 401k, 403b, 457, or if you're self employed. There's various different types of retirement planning, catch up opportunities there. So, yeah, taxes certainly, and funding retirement plans is definitely a big part of some of the beginning of the year, if you will, strategy for 2026.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're going to talk to us today about some of the things we need to be focused on. And a big one, of course, is always taxes. You mentioned taxes there. So, Roths always come into play. So, people, I think, in the new year probably want to consider maybe Roth conversions or making catch up contributions this year if they're getting closer to retirement or in retirement. What about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a major provision, Tony, of the Secure Act 2.0 takes effect in 2026 for high earners, those who earned more than 150,000 in the previous year, so in 2025. If you fall into this bracket and are 50 or older, any catch-up contributions to your employer-sponsored plan, like a 401k, must be made on a Roth after tax basis. So you want to check with your HR department to ensure your payroll deductions are updated to comply with these Roth only rules. So
Yeah.
there are some new Roth rules, Tony, for 2026 for, again, high earners that make over 150,000 a year, that certainly you want to be aware of. And if you are one of those high earners and you want specifics about that, you certainly can give our office a call. We can do a complete tax analysis, which we are able to do now with some of the amazing platforms and software, Tony, that are available to us,
Yeah.
that have all of the new Secure Act 2.0 regs built inside the platform. So, tax planning and certainly Roth opportunities can, make a big difference when it comes to retirement, Tony.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed out that big change that's taking effect in 2026 for those that do earn over 150. But for everyone else, even if you earn under that, contributing to a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA, I know you've talked about in the past how that might be a good idea. And if you shouldn't go it alone, though, make sure you're working with a trusted financial professional, a fiduciary. And I know, Anthony, you and your team there at Crescent City Retirement Group, that's what you do. That's how you help people look out for their best interest based on their needs to see what might be best for them. And maybe it is a Roth conversion, or maybe you should be making more contributions to your Roth 401k than your standard 401k, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. And, just for our listeners, just as a kind of a quick recap, if you will, on the differences, whether it be a Roth 401k or just a regular Roth IRA or a traditional IRA or a 401k. The difference there, Tony, is the Roth, the contributions you put in, whether it be your 401k or a Roth IRA, those contributions you put in are not tax deductible in the year that you put it in. But as you know, Tony, all of the interest, all of the dividends, all of the gains inside of that Roth IRA or Roth 401k are all going to be tax free when it comes out.
Yeah, it's all going to be tax free when it comes out. Even the principal, everything's tax free when it comes out. It's just what you put in. It has to be after tax money, so you have to have
Correct.
paid tax on that, right? Yeah,
Correct. You don't get the tax deduction. So it's after tax money. You don't get the tax deduction with the funds that are going in, but all of the interest, all of the dividends, all of the gains, all of the growth that Roth IRA or 401k achieves over the years will all come out, as you say, not only the principal or the money you put in, but all of the interest, gains, growth, everything is all tax-free money. Tony, I had attended a wealth conference, and there was a speaker there who wrote a book called The Tax Time Bomb, and his name is Ed Slott. He's a CPA, and it was a New York Times bestseller, The Tax Time Bomb. And he talked specifically about these 401ks and traditional IRAs that at some point are going to, if they're not Roth, they're all going to be taxed, right, as ordinary income.
right.
So that's the tax time bomb. And he uses this analogy, Tony, and I just thought it was a really it was a nice analogy as it relates to this. He talked about the farmer and he talked about seed and harvest. And he made the point with this analogy that if you're a farmer and you where are you going to pay more taxes? Are you going to pay more taxes on the seed that you buy at the seed store to plant? Are you going to pay more taxes on the seed, or after all of the crops grow and the big harvest, and then you sell all of the the fruits, right, or the crops from the farm? Are you going to pay more taxes on the seed or the harvest? And, obviously you're going to pay more taxes on the harvest than you would pay on the seed. And it was a great analogy for Roths, I thought, because you don't get the tax break on your seed, right? The money you put in, but all of the growth, all of the harvest, all of the gains over the years of growth, all of that becomes tax-free inside of a Roth.
That's really, really a great way to look at it. And so Roths may be very beneficial, but again, it depends on your circumstance, and you need to work with a trusted financial services professional to figure all that out. I think that's key. So we've talked about Roths and Roth contributions, and then there's catch-up contributions. You alluded to that, but there's a super catch-up, right, for those between 60 and 63.
There is, Tony. So to leverage the 2026 super catch up for those specifically between the age of 60 to 63 in 2026, it offers a unique opportunity. The super catch up limits allows you to contribute in your retirement plan an additional $11,250 extra to your workplace retirement plan on top of your standard limit. So with the super catch up in 2026, someone that has a retirement plan on the job, 401k, 403b, 457, a retirement plan with the super catch up, they can contribute up to $35,750. So that's a pretty unique. So for those final years before retirement, between the age of 60 and 63, this is an opportunity to really load up on your workplace retirement plan and really stuff in a big chunk of money that will be offset on your taxes and really give you that extra boost before retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's huge. Obviously, it's great to have that catch up time right there. Now, for those in retirement, that we covered some pre retiree issues for those of us still in the workforce. The next one is dealing with Medicare, right?
Yeah, so Medicare and Social Security. So we know that Social Security has announced for 2026 a 2.8% COLA or cost of living adjustment. So you will be happy to know that COLA will increase your Social Security by 2.8%. Now, I know many people out here will say that, the cost of living may have gone higher than 2.8.
Right.
We think that would be the case, but nevertheless, COLA will be 2.8. Much of that increase, however, will be offset by the Medicare Part B. If you are on Medicare and you're paying for Medicare Part B, typically people pay Medicare Part B out of their Social Security check. It went up, so you were paying $185 a month for Medicare Part B, and it's going up to $202.90 a month. So with all that said, you will get an increase on your Social Security check at a 2.8% increase, but Medicare premiums are going up from $185 to $202.90. So you will still get a net increase in your Social Security check, but some of that will be offset by the additional cost of Medicare.
Yeah. Yeah, and Medicare is something that people really take notice of once they're in retirement. Any changes to Medicare can really impact your retirement income plan and your retirement plan. So you want to pay attention to these changes. And I know that you work alongside Medicare specialists there at Crescent City Retirement to help people with this, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Tony, there are so many options today with Medicare. There's the
Oh,
Medicare Advantage plans that have different benefits, different networks of providers, and different out-of-pocket costs. Then you have Original Medicare, Part A and B, which allows you, there really is no network there, a little bit more freedom. But then, so Medicare, of course, is your medical care, hospitals and doctors. And I would, most of our listeners probably know that there is an enrollment period every October 15th to December the 7th. There's an opportunity for somebody to change their Medicare Advantage plan or look at the new plans for 2026 to be able to make adjustments. This is also the time to look at the drug plans and make sure that based on the meds that you are taking, that your plan has those medicines in your formulary list and your drug portion of your plan. So there's a lot of moving parts there, Tony, as it relates to Medicare. But having a thorough analysis of what you need, what's important to you, what plans are out there. This is a big part of the healthcare planning we do here at Crescent City Retirement Group. Tony?
Yeah, and that's huge. That's really important. And I think you make a great point there. Medicare, healthcare costs are going to be one of the biggest costs that people face in retirement. So you need a plan for it. Now, next on the list is maximizing the expanded standard deduction. That's a big change for 2026, isn't it?
It really is, Tony. The 2026 standard deduction has increased significantly due to inflation and the new legislation.
Yeah.
Married filing joint is now 32,200 with a senior bonus if you're 65 or older, an additional 1,600. So 32,200 plus if you're married, plus 1,600, so $33,800 standard deduction.
Yeah. Well, that's 1,600 per spouse, so that's times 2.
Times 2.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So excellent on the married filing joint. And then, of course, with the single filer, 16,100. And if they're 65 or older, they get an additional $2,000
Yeah.
on top of their standard deduction. And then, depending on their income, they may even have an additional increase with the Affordable Care Act. The new 65 plus deduction looks into the federal deduction of up to $6,000 per individual or $12,000 for a couple if their income is under 75,000 as a single filer or 150,000 for couples. So what we're saying here is on top of the standard deduction, if you're married filing joint, you got 32,200, and then if you're 65 or older, you each get, if both spouses are over 65 or 65 or older, you each get another 1,600 apiece. And then, depending on their income, they can get another 12,000 on top of that as the standard deduction or an increase in the deduction. So, really a lot of good things out there, Tony, as it relates to taxes and tax planning.
Yep. Oh, and that's huge. I mean, that additional 6,000 on top of all of that. And those amounts increase, the other amounts increased, but now they've added the additional 6,000 or 12,000 per couple. So if you add all that up, it adds up to $47,400 for couples who are making $150,000 or less in retirement per year, who have income reportable of $150K or less, which is most retirees are under that per year in retirement. Your standard tax deduction is going to be $47,400. That's huge.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean that is unbelievable. It's much less for individuals, but for married filing joint, that's really big. So I know that there's some other tax laws in there. I know there's something called the 2026 sunset estate tax window too, right? Because the estate tax exemption is going to stay high, which is good, right, in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. So the estate tax exemption for 2026 is still going to stay very high. People ask all the time about can I gift money, and how does that work as it relates to what I give to my kids or grandkids? And so you have a limit that you can gift up to in 2026. And then what happens is if you give over that limit, then that starts coming down on your estate tax exemption. So yeah, Tony, so the federal estate tax exemption is going to 15 million per individual. So it's up there,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not something that we all have to contend with. If our estate is worth higher than that, then things can come into play, but right now we have such a buffer there that typically most of us are not going to have. And if you're a married couple, that's 30 million of an exemption. So the estate tax exemption is far north of what most need. So that's helpful.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what they're saying is that it might, after 2026, some of those things that make it so high might sunset. So you've got to, if you do want
Keep
to
an
do
eye
gift,
on it.
yeah, if you do want to do gifting, this might be your year. So, um, what about interest rates? That's another thing that people need to look at. We're looking at lower interest rates right now, right?
We are, and we're always real big when we're dealing with retirement planning and our our investment strategy, talking about the cash bucket or liquidity needs, and it's real important to solve for that. I know for many years, the kind of the rule of thumb was 6 months to 9 months of cash on hand of your expenses, just your normal living expenses, to have that money in more of a liquid or cash component. Today, rates have come down. The average money market rate is trending downward now, somewhere projected around 3 to about 3.25%. I know there are some money market funds with some of the custodians that are paying pretty close to 4% right now, but that's about the range, Tony. So for your cash component, or the cash bucket of money, if you will, that you have for liquidity, for emergency money, certainly we feel that that's very important part of your investment strategy. And if you're earning anywhere from 3 to about 4% on that liquid money, that's the going rate. That's about where you should be at this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good, and that makes sense. So, we're looking at a lot of different changes financially for 2026, and it's been a great discussion so far. Let's look at something else. I mean, Social Security. You alluded to this. There is an increase for Social Security.
Mhm.
I think it was what
2.8 was the
2.8.
COLA.
Yep, yep, the cost of living adjustment.
Mhm.
And so, that's always something people look at, but again, you mentioned earlier, Medicare premiums are going up too, so you're not gonna get the entire 2.8%, but I think you'll still get a little extra in your check, won't you?
You will, Tony. And the other thing I'd like to mention about Social Security is the earnings limit for
Sure.
2026. So, what that is, if you have started your Social Security already and you started before your full retirement age or FRA, let's say you're 65 and your Social Security full retirement age was 67, you can still work and earn money, but the earnings limit for Social Security is $24,480. So that's the new earnings limit. So if you make over 24,480, so let's say you started Social Security 2 years early, you're 65 and your full retirement age is 67 in this example, okay? Um, and you earned, let's say, $34,480 in 2026, so 10,000 more exceeding the earnings limit, then
Yep.
for every $2 you make over, they take $1 back.
Hmm.
So in this example, if you made 10,000 over, they'd want 5,000 back. And the only little caveat to that is the year that you would make your full retirement age. So if you full retirement age is 67 and you're going to be 67 in November of this year in 26, you're not 67 yet, but you're in the year that you're turning 67, then that earnings limit actually goes to 65,160. So it really goes up considerably. In other words, how much more you can make the year that you make full retirement age. And then, of course, after your full retirement age, then there's no earnings limit. It's all off. But Tony, we like to, I mean, that's all well and good, and people want a part-time work, and they can do it. If they started Social Security early, they can still go to work if they want, but they just have to recognize that there is an earnings limit they can make so they
Sure.
don't get penalized if they're under their full retirement age.
Yeah, you shouldn't, if you haven't filed for Social Security, don't do it without talking to Anthony and his team there at
Yeah.
Crescent City, because you can run a report that'll show the best time for them in their situation to file. And you don't want to lock in a lower amount when you could have let it roll up if you're going to continue to work. So great points, one and all, Anthony, but we're out of time for today's
wow.
show. So before we go, I know you're offering a no charge, no obligation consultation for our listeners and viewers out there. How can they set that up?
Absolutely. Well, look, if you've enjoyed our show, we first of all want to thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Wealth Builders. We really appreciate our listening audience. If you would like a second opinion on your retirement plan, whether it be estate and legacy planning, healthcare planning, your investment strategy, income planning, or a tax plan, give our office a call. Call us at 504-828-2171 or visit us online at Crescent City Retirement Group. We are so available for you. We know that you've worked hard. A lot has gone into getting to this place of being able to retire or being close to retirement or in retirement. And so, we're honored, honestly, to be working with the retirees here in the, Jefferson, Orleans, St. Tammany's parishes, Tangipahoa, Lafourche, Terrebonne, all of South Louisiana. We are just so honored to be a part of the community and to be able to serve the retirees in this community. We know you've worked hard, and we want to be a real good partner for you. So call us 504-828-2171 or visit us online at crescentcityretirement.com.
All right. Thanks, Anthony. And listeners and viewers out there, thank you so much for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Wealth Builders with our host, Anthony Cangemi.